Hello YouTubers, this is yosemite4000 and I am coming on today for the purpose of talking about the US and our debt problem. I also would like to offer some potential solutions to the problem that we're having. Um, on Capitol Hill we hear a lot about, lessening Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, but they're not very specific. Um, so let's start. We do have a large debt, and from what I can tell, they're pretty much going to raise the debt ceiling, and that's my opinion. And I definitely see it happening in the future, in the near future. Um, I'd like to say that generally everything that happens is very predictable. The whole so-called government meltdown was predictable. The fact that it didn't happen was predictable. A lot of this, so the not only the media but the politicians use this to create a stir which allows them to pass measures that otherwise may not have been so popular, because if you press it to the last second and then pass something that no one likes, I suppose they prefer that option than the government shutdown, because they kept talking about the shutdown in the media but never specified what exactly that entailed. They'd be sort of vague, but the only thing that most people knew is that soldiers wouldn't get their money, and so let's move on to my possible solutions to our debt. I won't say stop borrowing, because we obviously can't do that, and I am an economics minor, so I understand about having capital to be able to move the country forward. However, a lot of the things that we do is red tape, bureaucracy. It's like, I've had to call the Veterans Affairs Office for my school situation, and during the process, I had to turn in everything ahead of schedule. This is when I started, of course, and I didn't actually get my first, installment for my education benefits until the April. I started in August. I didn't get it until end of April. They pay me back pay, but the simple reason that I didn't get it was because they said on the third floor they have to approve it, and then they have to send it back to the second floor. Now, I don't understand why someone simply can't, make a call to the third floor. They can't walk up to the third floor, or we can't use a computer system that eliminates the need for incompetent government workers. And I'm sorry, but everyone knows that most of the people who work for the government do less work, get better benefits, better job security, and I don't think that's right, especially at the federal level. Now, a lot of these city workers, they aren't getting the best treatment. I've worked with some city workers in the water department. A lot of times they have one guy that does all the work for 3 or 4 people, and maybe we should stop that system. Maybe we should stop grandfathering in people. Maybe we should stop having seniority. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with connections, but make sure that you're qualified before you're connected. So, to my solution, this is just my opinion. Perhaps everyone under the age of 30 could say, you know what, I waive my Social Security because I know it's not going to exist, so it's better for me to just go ahead and waive it. And I feel like for 1 year we should continue to give to the Social Security plan. However, after that 1 year is up, anyone under the age of 30 or whatever age they determine should not have to pay anymore. And that doesn't mean just make another Social Security. Actually do the research, figure out what's going to be the best plan of action. Either that or give the people more money, and maybe we won't need Social Security. One of the big problems is the disparity between the rich and the poor, and that creates a larger scale momentum than people understand. It's not small actions, it's not big actions, it's all of that together causing things to move forward. So, with that said, there's the Social Security. Medicare, Medicaid, I mean, I don't know everything about it. It's very complicated. But perhaps it's not the people's fault. Maybe it's not the people's fault for wanting expensive care. Maybe it's the doctor's fault for recommending expensive care, but maybe it's not their fault. Maybe they're just doing the best option that'll help the patient. So I don't want to bash on doctors either. Maybe it's the manufacturing corporations which charge ridiculous fees for their goods. Maybe it's all three of the things together. Um, so maybe we can reform the medical system to make it more efficient. Um, I had to get 4 stitches. I used to play rugby, and I got a cut the back of my ear, and it was pretty much hanging off. But I only needed 4 stitches. Now for 4 stitches, it cost me $650, give or take a few dollars. I had insurance, but I just didn't have the information with me at the time. So I will admit I did go to the emergency room, which is, I guess, most of the cost they say. But it shouldn't cost $650 for 4 stitches, anesthesia, a needle, and an iodine swab. It shouldn't. I mean, and then I had to wait, an hour and a half for a nurse or anyone to see me. And there was no one in the hospital. Where I go to school, there's pretty much only old people. So at the emergency room, there's really no one. There's not like it's jam packed. It's just, again, bureaucracy, red tape, people who are incompetent who get off with not doing their job hard. Now, if you work in manufacturing or warehouse or any blue collar type of job, you don't have that luxury. You have a manager who is basically, your job is depending on your production. But anyway, I want to get to the next point. Defense is obviously where we can get a lot of our money from. We don't need all these soldiers. We don't need to be in other countries. And I understand that you want to set up democracy. There's nothing wrong with that. But we are hypocrites when it comes to foreign policy. We'll help people in Libya, but not, Sudan or Chad or Congo, Rwanda. We won't interfere with that because it's too grand a scale. Libya, I feel we help because there's an interest in the oil. Not even for us, for other countries, there's an interest for oil. And it's a more accomplishable goal, I suppose, than say Iraq, because we did a fairly good job, and I do commend the president for only sending in those air troops. And people were being bombed, so I'm not opposing helping them as far as, the human rights issue. What I'm opposing is all the other things that they're trying to sweep under the table. Okay, Libya, yes, that was for, people's rights. But what about Afghanistan, Iraq? What about that stuff? So that defense could take a considerable chunk. I think that the money should be reinvested in research and development for science, technology, education. If we spent more money on our children, then perhaps we would be in a better position to lead the world as we used to and as we can again. I'm not going to say as we should, but right now I want to, leave. I want to go to China. I'll go wherever, because you have a better chance in succeeding in America if you came here from somewhere else a lot of times than if you were born here. There are so many people who are born in an area where their elementary school is less than sufficient. Then they go to middle school, they don't know everything they should, so that compounds. Then they go to a high school which has basically been around since the 50s and falling over on itself. So there's a spending problem, not just because we're spending too much, it's how we spend it. If we spent the same amount in a better way, a more effective way, a more efficient way, then perhaps we'd have more GDP. Now, on to the revenue side. I don't really want to go too much into taxes, but I feel that if you make over $1 million a year, I understand that the taxes are a lot. If you make $50 million and the government wants half of that, then, it probably sucks. But you are more able to take that loss. So I won't say just raise taxes. Maybe there could be another option. Instead of raising the taxes that they supposedly would take, the increase, just, give a person the option to give it to charity. So that actually will be reaching the low income areas. because when the government gets it, it spreads so far that a lot of times it gets lost, and the poor people don't get it. I am trying to get rights for the poor, the working class. I am tired of the bureaucracy. I'm tired of the draconian system that we live in. But really, we have the power to change anything that we dislike, and I think that's why Libya, Egypt, and all these places like Greece, that's why they're getting so much media attention, because there's been so much tension in America for years, and people have wanted to revolt, or have an uprising of intellect, so to speak. Um, and so when they see that, it spreads, it catches. It's like, everything that we haven't liked, but we've been putting up with, maybe we can change it. The problem is that America is so large. Egypt is not as big. Libya is not as big. Greece is not as big. These small countries have the capacity to organize a lot better. And they weren't working anyway, so they didn't have anything to do. A lot of times, people who are fed up, but they have a job and they're willing to just, stick with it. Plus, our forces are more heavily armed. Our police all have guns, very powerful pistols. They can kill you. They have tasers. They have pepper spray. They have baton. They're very well equipped to deal with any potential citizen who might want to get out of the way. Now, of course, if we all banded together, they couldn't stop us, but we all know how it ends. In every instance, the military is called in. And we have the best military in the world, the most technologically advanced military in the world. They have machines that will inflict pain upon you without actually touching you, the most pain that a human body can endure. And the scientists who are specialists in this area warn that it is bad to use certain technologies that we possess, but they're labeled as riot equipment, not war equipment, riot equipment. So if we were to ever form some sort of movement and say it did get violent, we would probably not end up on top. Any militia activity is stopped. That is why one of the main reasons I think organized crime is targeted, because there is a hierarchy, there is a structure. They would prefer unorganized crime, a lot more than structured crime. So with that said, maybe we should reevaluate ourselves and not the government, and maybe we should tell our representatives what we think they should do, and hold them accountable. And at least the Tea Party has the wherewithal to hold fast to their values. And it's interesting that the people to the far right are more willing to stick to their ground than the people to the far left or the center. So maybe we could change something about that. Thank you. Sorry for the length, but I like to rant sometimes.